I read that in a Cosmo.
What was it?
That when stuff like that happens, that the healthy and like the best thing to do is laugh about it.
I feel like that comes too with getting older. Like when you're younger, like that's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like
It's like just not giving a shit anymore.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a dump on your chest. No, I'm just kidding.
And then it's like, just kidding. I got you. We're rolling, Jake?
Go ahead. You said you had a crazy news story to tell us about.
Okay. It was in Brazil. Maybe I could do this without looking it up because that'll take me forever.
Wasn't it in India?
It was in India. There was a flight. There was, I believe, 274 passengers.
Sure.
And
Sounds
shortly
right.
after takeoff, the plane crashes. There's only one survivor. I guess he was the closest to the emergency exit and he was able to climb out. And it's been in the news and the tabloids for the past few days.
Okay.
And then today, I saw that there was, what was he, a musician from Thailand? He was I believe he was a musician from Thailand. And the same thing happened to him in the 90s. And he was the only survivor. And it turns out that this guy was sitting in the same exact seat as this survivor was
The
sitting
same
in.
seat number.
The same
Seat 11A.
plane and everything?
I don't know, what you mean, like same plane model? Or
Yeah,
I
like
don't
I don't
know.
know. But wait,
The same seat number.
did
at
they
least.
say that he was the closest to the emergency exit? Because that I did not hear.
Yeah. That's how he got out. It
Do you
was-
know if the other guy that survived all those years ago?
I don't.
Or you think this is like numerology something?
Yeah, some sort of synchronicity.
Maybe.
What do you think about that?
I feel like I would have to see the seat number. I'd have to see like
The layout of the plane.
the layout of the plane. And then after seeing that, if there was still no explanation, then I'd be like, all right, pull up the numerology, pull up the astrology, pull up everything. I need to see it all.
It is crazy though.
It gave
That
me.
is pretty
That's a
goosebumps.
great question though. Oh, I like how you were like,
Analyze it.
yeah, how you were open to debunking.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm,
you're right. It could be like, oh, same. What was the difference in the accidents too? Because the one in India went up in flames, right?
Yeah,
oh,
like
wow.
Because there's like a CCTV footage of like the like big old cloud.
dude, that's got to be a lot to deal with. Like, sure, you're going to be grateful that you survived.
I wonder, was he flying with anyone he knew?
It's got to he was flying with his brother.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. That's got to do a lot to you, right?
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, survivor's guilt. Like
was
an
gonna say.
entire plane
I don't know, dude.
dead.
The last plane that I was on, I wouldn't have given a fuck about any of those people. I swear it was the loudest plane, dude. I was in the middle of this family that like was just talking over me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a
no.
red eye! Shut up!"
Did I ever tell you about the time that I was flying home from Vegas and there was a couple in front of me that were like hammered?
Oh no.
The guy dropped his hat and it landed in my lap, and I was like, "Oh, here you go." And he was like all he was drunk, so he's just talking shit, but like in a funny way, and I thought it was hilarious. He was like, "This motherfucker back here trying to steal my hat," and I was like, he's clearly drunk. And then we like started hitting it off, talking to him, and then I have this
them.
thing. I draw Cupid dolls, for tattooing and stuff.
Okay.
I would always pick somebody random, usually a flight attendant on the plane, to draw them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I decided to draw them.
You're such a ham.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like,
and then you're like, "Look at my drawing
I get
of you."
I get the best service on a flight though when I do that. Anyway, so I told him, I was like, "Hey, I do these drawings. If you want to give me a photo, I could draw you. Before we get home." And he hands me his phone, and they're both like giggling, and they were like, "Yeah, you could go through the gallery. You're probably gonna see some shit in there that that you shouldn't, but go for it. We don't care." And it was like their entire weekend of in the gallery.
Oh, they
my
were trying
God.
to f- you.
Yeah.
No way.
But it gets better. So I was like, all right, cool. And I found one. It wasn't a naked picture.
Oh, aw.
But it
Lame.
was them at like a bar or something wearing costumes. So I drew it and they were like stoked about it. And then they got into a huge argument. So bad that the flight attendants had to come and separate them. Like they were like standing up, like talking
Like
to each other.
toddlers?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
shoot.
so embarrassing.
Yeah, and like the bad words. And
The bad word.
Yeah, so they made them sit like on either end of the plane, and they were just like all pissed off for the rest of the flight. And I was
Like
like,
kids, no.
but you know me, I like to make friends. We added each other on Instagram, so like we still chat.
Are
That's
they
so
together
funny.
still?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Remember that one time you guys popped off on the plane?
Yeah.
I always like randomly when I see them, like, hey, I can't wait till the next flight, or where are we going next?
Where are you guys gonna argue in public next?
James is like, I call C11A.
Yeah. Now I know where I'm sitting for now
Just
on, and
in
I'm only
case.
flying alone.
Yeah. My dad, I think it was somebody that he knew, like the parents of the kids would fly on separate planes just in case.
There's a show about that called
But it's like-
Manifest.
If it happens, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
There's a show called Manifest that I was like all about, and it's exactly that. Half the family got split up, but on this show, the plane never landed, so they assumed that it had just crashed in the ocean or whatever.
Mhm.
But it lands 5 years later, and nobody is aged.
Oh, I wanted to watch that.
That's
I
pretty
remember seeing
crazy.
that.
Yeah, it's cheesy, kind of like weekday, regular TV
Mhm,
network.
like Lost.
Exactly.
Did it not get another season?
It did. It's on Netflix. Like, there's like 4 or 5 seasons.
I remember
Oh,
seeing
That's
that.
a decent amount.
Yeah, and Sanvi on there, dude. She fine.
Okay. Here, I'll let you just go ahead and pick an icebreaker.
Pick one. You pick
question.
one.
You're so much better at these.
Am I okay?
Yeah, all it took was one. See, Sagittarius. All it took was one small compliment.
Let's see here. If your belly button made a noise every time you pressed it, what sound would it pick?
What sound would it pick?
No, what sound would you pick?
Would I pick?
Yeah, for your belly button to
Like
make
if
a
it
noise.
had to make a noise?
Yeah, it's like your own personal soundboard.
Oh, that's kind of funny you said soundboard because I was going to say it has to do like the record noise. Like, ew, ew.
Eric.
I'd be like,
Every
oh.
time somebody.
Or what about the hip hop air horn? Burr, 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 burr.
That'd be funny.
I thought that was like the reggaeton one. Is that what
Yeah, that's
Man, the record
I think
scratch
for the hips, I would do like the cowbell.
for the
Ding,
hips.
ding.
Whoa, she's picking the rest of her body.
Yeah. So when you go to like you dance to cumbias, it's like
I was
Hey,
gonna say, yeah.
hey, what does that elbow do? Maracas.
At first, I was gonna say the Pillsbury. Hoo-hoo.
That's what I was
Because
thinking.
it's classic, but
I was thinking since people say like put some elbow grease, I was thinking like the cleaning noise. Like, I
Just
don't
the
know.
wet sound.
Yeah, like the little squeaky noise, like when it's Windex.
squeaky clean.
Man, I don't know what mine would be. It'd probably be like maybe Morgan Freeman introducing me as, I don't know,
Oh my god.
a fast food jingle would be kind of cool, and I'm loving it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Ba-da-ba-ba-bop. I'd probably go with the ba-da-ba-ba-bop.
But dude, you have to understand too, though it might go off on accident sometimes. What about in the middle of sex?
Damn.
Like you accidentally valley
Morgan
bump?
Freeman just starts talking.
In a world.
Since the beginning of time.
What would yours do, Jake? What that belly button do, Jake?
That's pretty good.
Casual one.
Oh,
Casual.
man.
So then you can act like you're not catcalling girls when they look back at you. You're like,
Oh, it wasn't me, my bad.
No,
It
yeah,
was my
and
belly
then
button.
they just see you pointing at your. No, trust me, it's.
And they're like, what the?
maybe a fart. Just because why not, dude? You could use it to frame other people.
I don't need my belly button for that. I fart on command.
belly queef.
Belly queef.
Belly queef.
Have you like? Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about. Well, maybe we'll leave it. And I was gonna say, have you ever had like your chest fart against somebody else's chest?
Yep.
I'm so glad I have a boyfriend because I am definitely the type to laugh when things like that happen.
Yeah. I read that in a Cosmo.
What was it?
That when stuff like that happens, it's like the healthy and like the best thing to do is laugh about it. Because if you don't, then it just gets weird.
All
It becomes
awkward
the
and
elephant in the room.
stagnant and,
It's
like-
like,
And then you're like, all right, game face, let's go.
yeah. Want to do it again?
That's crazy.
Well, like, I feel like that comes to with getting older. Like when you're younger, like that's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like just not giving a shit anymore.
yeah. I'm gonna take a dump on your chest. No, I'm just kidding. And we gonna laugh.
And then it's like, just kidding. I got you.
Just kidding.
After you do it.
After the sheets are ruined.
Ah,
All right.
so-
Oh my God. Is this what happens when you put 3 fire signs in a room and we just start
is that what that
talking?
is?
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
God.
Belly buttons.
Wait, what's your sign?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Of course
fish.
you are.
What does that mean?
Here to put the
I
fire
attract
out.
a lot of Pisces. Like I always meet a bunch of Pisces.
That-
I do too.
So I primarily what I'll be talking about during the podcast is going to be more tropical Western astrology, and I use like the Placidus system. So it's a specific type of way to actually read it. However, I do study Vedic and sidereal. So pretty much what Vedic and sidereal are is it's the more like ancient way of reading things, and it's just a different way that things are set up. A lot of people that do primarily read that would argue that it's like the only valid one.
Okay.
I do see truth in both. But the reason I bring it up is because most people, it's kind of like going back one sign. So me and you that were Aries, we would be Pisces in Vedic. So I kind of notice we tend to
Oh.
attract whatever sign we actually are.
Should be.
Yeah, or like should be.
Or-
But the way that I see it is that tropical is tied to our current lifetime because it also is more karmic. So it has more to do with like
okay.
why you are here right now and in this current life. Whereas Vedic is going to be more, how I see it, is more of your higher self, your higher knowing, your higher being. Like that's how you should be moving in order to actually ascend out of the realm per se.
So what would
Okay.
his Vedic
So
possibly
in
be?
Vedic, since you're a Sagittarius, it is a little bit arguable. Some people do go by this. Some people don't. I kind of do both, but there's a 13th zodiac sign that's said like to be the lost zodiac sign. Because it's
You always
kind
have to complicate shit.
it's kind of hidden in like I believe it's like the sun's horizon, so it
Uh-huh.
kind of doesn't show up as much as the other ones.
That's where I like to hide.
So it's supposed to only be like 2 weeks. When's your birthday again?
December 19th, 1987.
It's potential because my best friend is December 11th and she would be the 13th, and it's called Ophiuchus, and Ophiuchus means like serpent bearer. So that specific sign, if you are that one, it's like a mix of the Sagittarius and Scorpio energy. But if you're not
He's a
Ophiuchus,
monster.
you would be more just Scorpio. But with the Ophiuchus, it's there's like a myth about it pretty much. So it's said that like Asclepius, he became too powerful in his healing abilities.
What?
And he was able to like
This
bring
will all got the
people-
chills, huh? You have the chills right now?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
that they're like incredible healers. So, well, it was Asclepius. So
He's
that's the
so
myth.
horny for
Asclepius-
And I'm sleepy.
Asclepius is like so in medical businesses and things like that, you'll see they have like the pillar and then the single serpent.
Yeah.
That is the Asclepius symbol. So in the myth, he's a healer, and it was said that he became too powerful and that Hades got upset, and he talked to Zeus and he was like, "Yo, he's bringing people back to life. This is going to upset the system. You need to do something." So Zeus struck down Asclepius, and Asclepius became Ophiuchus, which is the constellation.
And you're just the sleepiest fool I know.
Hades more like hater. Of course he would do some shit like that.
That's funny because I have a cat named Hades, and he always looks like he's hating. He has like because he's a tabby, so he has the little angry face.
So, well, you guys could probably guess what's going on here today, right?
Well, before we start that, bring it in.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
Reyna, what's your last name? Or what do you go by?
I just go by Reyna. My like tag on Instagram is like Budcast. I don't know.
Okay, well, you're so good at
Am I
intros.
really? I don't
No,
think I
okay.
am.
All right. Hey, buds. Welcome back to another episode. You can already see what's going on here. It's already chaos. I'm Sanaya Garcia,
And I am Jimmy Jam,
and you are watching the Tattoo Budcast,
the only podcast that's just like a tattoo appointment.
minus the tattoo. And today we have a new bud, our first time bud. We're going to be astrology buds today. We have somebody that was referred to us by a good friend, a good witchy friend. If you guys remember Jill Siren Surratt Chavez from a couple, or from the beginning of the pod.
Yeah.
She was our Halloween guest. She was our New Year intuition setting guest.
Our guest claims to be living life through the will of the ancient gods.
She is teaching others to do the same.
And hopefully she could teach us.
I think she's going to teach us a few things.
Yeah. We might find out today that we're not compatible as podcast hosts.
And this may be
the
last
episode.
pod. So, Reyna, you got a lot on your shoulder.
I'll definitely let you guys know.
Let's hear it for Reyna of Unity Sanctum.
Woo! Thank you guys.
We're going to clean all that up, and it's going to be just the best intro.
It's going to look like we know what we're doing.
Obviously, as you can tell by the way your intro went, we know nothing about astrology. I know your typical internet, TikTok, pop astrology, which is probably all wrong. So what exactly is it that you do?
Since we're talking about astrology, I'll primarily start there. So with astrology, I do focus more on birth chart interpretations as well as just in general, like spreading the knowledge and helping people understand things. It's kind of something that I've always felt really called to do. It's kind of funny because it's in my birth chart. But yeah, so I always seek to inform pretty much. Aside from astrology, I mean, I'll be real, I'm such a nerd about it. I just study it all the time. I'm such a nerd about it. I love it so much. But other than that, I'm a card reader. I am a spiritual business owner. I am a pet mom.
Pet mom first.
Yes, pet mom first. I'm like, I got to throw them in there. Speaking of my pets, I'm starting to explore being a pet psychic because it's something that I was always kind of tapped into since I was younger. But I finally opened that door and like started doing it for other people and things like that.
Oh, how funny. So you're like strengthening that skill
Yeah.
set.
So like people will like, when I do like pop-ups and things like that, people will bring their dogs to me.
They're like, what does my dog really think about me?
I mean, as we know, animals are very conscious beings. There are some animals that are a lot more animalistic in even their brain and even their like what they're here to do. Like some of them are genuinely just here to be companions, and you can feel that when you go into it with them. And then I feel like other ones you could tell like it's almost like how I would describe like almost a split personality. One of my friend's dogs, for example, he was sent here to like do spiritual work with her. And whenever I tap into him for her readings, there's like a side of him that's like, okay, this is what I'm communicating. This is what I'm trying to help you with. And then I'll like dig deeper, and eventually he gives me all his messages, and then he'll go straight back to a dog, and like the whole essence, whole personality will change. And it's just like, oh my God, Bone, let's go for a walk.
Do you have Gaia?
I do not.
It's like a spiritual platform. It's like just for that. There's a story on there about a woman who kept seeing visions of this white horse. And she traveled to another country and she found it, and it was like
white horse,
her companion from a past life.
Yeah,
like, wild.
And she fucked the horse.
Yeah, it was her husband.
You know what? My sister's dog, I swear, has human eyes. I always tell her.
Some of them really are
like,
human.
She's like so expressive, and she's just the goodest girl. She acts like a dog, but like there's just something about those eyes that are so expressive. Yeah. And she's just
what I noticed is that it's the dogs that act a lot more like toddlers that have more of that split essence. Like, you know, there's some dogs that are so humanly needy that it's like, what do you mean, dude? You're just a dog. Yeah, I'm really passionate about what I do. I feel like I really focus my whole life around that. I'm really primarily Kemetic. Kemet is the original name for ancient Egypt.
Or it was...
So Kemet means black land. I study like not as much of the modern way of approaching like Egyptian magic, but definitely more of the Kemetic, like the old way.
Yeah, damn, black land, huh?
I am so
you hear that,
intrigued
Elizabeth Taylor?
I'm so intrigued with ancient Egypt and stuff because I had a reading, and she's a Reiki healer, and that's what she had told me, that I was from ancient Egypt. I was a healer, stuff like that.
So I mean, with Kemet, a lot of people resonate with it because of the fact that it was the mystery schools. People from all over the world back in the day would travel to Kemet to learn. And that's why people of all different shapes, sizes, colors, ethnicities, everything. They all resonate so deeply with it. And that was why.
Because it is so intriguing to so many people.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the primary reason why. It's just they obviously don't like to tell us the whole history of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the hidden part of the history. But it's also funny you say that because since you're a Sagittarius is they're the ruler of the 9th house in astrology, and that's all about like
you ain't ruling
spirituality.
shit in this house.
That's the best house, in my opinion.
Honestly, I love the 9th house. So it's a house of spirituality, higher knowledge, travel, education, things like that. So when I was looking at your chart, you did have a bunch of placements in Sagittarius. So it kind of checks out for what she told you.
What would you give yourself as a title?
Whew, okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's
she
pretty
said,
hard.
pet mom.
That is pretty hard. I don't know. I feel like I'd bounce between a couple of different ones. I feel like it would be like student of the occult sciences, or I feel like it would be like spiritualist, or like my friend calls me a seer and like a seeker. I've always resonated.
I like
Like a
that.
light
Seer and
seeker?
seeker.
Yeah, I was like, I like that. That sounds cool.
Well, I tell you, if you give us
Romanticist, I
any
don't know.
bad news, you're just going to be mean.
Oh my god.
That's going to be your
Yeah.
title.
A
You
bully.
guys would be like, okay.
Oh, spiritual bully. Got it. No pressure, though. Please be honest. Please feel free to be honest. I know you got a bad what's it called? Fiending for apple juice.
Oh,
Yeah, an addiction.
An addiction to apple juice, for sure. It was funny when you guys asked, like, oh, what do you like to drink? I even looked at my boyfriend. I was like, I know I like juice, but like, what would you say my favorite juice was? And he was like, what do you mean, dude? You're always drinking apple juice.
You're at the end of a juice box. You're like, really?
And it's funny because I was telling him, I was like, I want to say organic or like cold pressed, but I don't want to sound snobby. And then you guys got me organic.
We busted out the big guns. We're like, nah.
I was like, ooh, no high fructose corn syrup.
It's going to be a good night.
Yeah, right.
I might need to take an Uber home. So I know you were saying that this is such a loaded question. We're asking how you got into spiritualism. Maybe we can break it down further. Do you feel like as a little girl, you were drawn to something more than what you were raised on, or?
My family was not necessarily religious. Like,
Okay.
I'm not really close with my family like that, but my mom grew up Catholic. They still got married in a church and everything, but I would consider my father to be atheist.
Okay.
They let
Yeah.
us do our first communion, and then that was just it. I knew there was some truth in it, but I always knew there was something more. Since I was younger, I always said, I don't think I could believe in only one God. I believe in multiple gods. I can't believe that everything was created from one energy. That doesn't really make any sense to me.
How old were you when you were saying that?
Honestly,
I was 3.
I was really young, I'll be real.
I was just gonna
had a lot
ask.
of really wild realizations really young. Like, I spent a lot of time staring at the stars in my driveway and just like being like, nah, dude, there's more to this.
So, like, when you first learned about, like, what's one of the first things kids learned? Like, Greek mythology, were you like, oh, I'm in this?
Like in 6th grade, when they make you do like everything with ancient Egypt and do the little
Mhm.
plays and stuff,
Yeah.
I remember all of the myths, and I remember being like, oh yeah, see, that makes more sense to me.
You
More on
resonated with
this.
it.
My mom taught us our zodiac signs, only our sun signs when we were really young. So I always knew that. I always knew I was an Aries. And then around the time of like 15, I remember I was at like the outdoor mall, like where I grew up and stuff. I was with my mom. We were going to the bathroom in the Barnes and Noble. And I guess at that time, the spiritual section or like
Yeah.
the self-realization section was right next to the bathroom. I just remember walking there and like stopping and being like, hold on. And I ran over there and I like saw this box, and there was there were some animal spirit cards, and I was like, nah, I need these. I was like, I have to leave with these. Like, they're like, I need this, please.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that you're not supposed to buy your first deck. So I was not someone who went and bought my first deck. I was
Yeah.
gifted my first deck.
Very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know if I back it up, but people do say that.
In the tattoo world, you can get a tattoo machine tattooed on you at 10 years, but somebody's supposed to gift it to you.
And it's supposed to be their idea.
Oh.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
You're not
that.
supposed to like go and pay for it or like make
So
an
I
appointment.
guess everyone
for
has
it.
their own little
Traditions.
thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, that's cool that your mom was like cool with that. I feel like both of our moms would have
Hell no.
fucking kicked our
My mom
asses
didn't-
all the way out of there.
My mom didn't even let me read my horoscope in like 17 magazine.
Really?
But you know what's funny is her great grandma was we have like this little circus flag behind James because my family came from Mexico to be in that circus, and her grandma was a fortune teller in the circus.
Okay.
But I guess at some point it was like against everyone's religion, so they stopped with it. But I know she read cards.
I don't know if it's in my lineage or anything, but I do have a theory that my grandmother worked more with like Saint Michael and things like that, Archangel Michael. But other than that, I don't really know any of the other history. They definitely were very okay with it, and that's even though I don't have the best relationship, I am grateful for that they didn't really stop me from like doing whatever I needed to do. But yeah, I mean, even up to when I was deeper into it, and like I remember traveling for a few months, and my mom was like tending to my altar for me, like my Kemetic altar.
That's cool.
So I was like, hey, can you put water in my deity's cups for me? Like, and she would do it. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. She definitely was very open-minded, but she still to this day will go pray to Mary and like go to the church and stuff like that. But she's not like crazy religious. I think it's more of a just like safe space type of thing for her.
It's cultural in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, because my family, they also came from Mexico, so I think she's just kind of more familiar with that side of things.
It's like out of respect.
Well, and they say when like it was pushed onto the indigenous, like a lot of them found representations of like say the Virgin Mary. They were praying to the Virgin Mary, but it's in their mind it was representing their God, which was with the whole San Diego, seeing her on the hill and the roses. But we won't get into all that.
Man, you know what our moms would have done if we needed them to tend to our altars? Probably just thrown them out.
No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My mom would have been so upset if I was this little kid.
Yeah. My family always called me the weird one. Like I'd be like, why y'all doing carne asada again? Like, I'm trying to eat some, like, curry and, like...
that was the first indication, like, yeah, she's weird.
No, you know what? I actually grew up not liking avocados either, so that was definitely the weird one. Now I love them. I wouldn't get anywhere near the guac, and, like, my family had an avocado tree and everything.
Dang.
So I missed out for, like, most of my life living at that house, getting the free avocados.
You could only find me at the guac.
Yeah, honestly, that's me now. Like, I could survive off of avocados.
I'm
really.
allergic.
No, I'm so sorry.
And I wasn't allergic till like my 20s, so it's like I know what I'm missing out on, and it's very sad for me.
See, that's my friend. She's allergic to mangoes, and she didn't get allergic until later on. And she doesn't like spicy food, and I remember I had gotten like a mango habanero guac, and I sent her this. I was like, why could I kill you with this? I was like, why could I literally
you're weak. You're weak. I could end your bloodline right now. Dang. Well, you could use it on me too, man. So, okay.
That's good to know.
So the spiritualism you felt compelled at an early age. Those cards, how did you learn to read them? Or
at first, so every deck comes with a book that has like instructions.
Okay.
And because I didn't really have any knowing, I didn't even think to like, oh, let me YouTube this. I started with like the spreads in the book, and then I kind of just started doing my own thing. I kept it a lot more private when I was younger because I don't know. I didn't.
You were already the girl that liked curry.
Yeah, I was already the weird one. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't really do it on too many people. I did it to like my closest friends. I would give them readings and things like that. And it's kind of funny because when I think back, I'm like, I didn't actually fully know what I was doing. And I was still like, okay, turn out the lights, turn on the candle, light the incense, get out the cards.
And that was just all stuff that
was just what I naturally did. When I started doing chores for allowance, I would save my allowance to buy off of like Etsy every week. And like I would order like a different crystal. And I would
you were like compelled.
Look up for my zodiac sign, like what would help me with certain things based on my sign and things like that. So yeah. I was definitely naturally a lot more curious about it and a lot more attuned to it. Obviously, life had its ups and downs, so I wasn't as strict as I am now when I was younger. Definitely, especially like through high school, I was like, you know,
like coming in and out of like practicing
and out of my
stuff.
Practicing. Yeah,
I feel like that's the way I've been. Like I was like so into it, and like I had a lot of crazy things happen, you know, through meditation, visions and stuff. And then I got super busy and it just kind of took a backseat, and now I'm getting back in.
Yeah. But it's always there.
But it's
Make
it's always
yourself
there
out
when you're
there.
ready, I
Mhm.
suppose.
I feel like it's definitely more important to get into it as you get older because it creates a different kind of grounding in the material world. I feel like when you are attuned to the spiritual, it's not necessarily an escape from reality, but it helps you understand reality a lot more. There's certain things happening that have real underlining themes that if you don't have the foot in the spiritual, you wouldn't even be able to fully understand. Like, I feel like a lot of things that happen, especially politically, I feel like spiritualists are a lot more attuned and like aware of what's happening because they're naturally in that world and they're like, okay, well, if this is moving like this, then of course this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So, like, there's been a lot of things that happened recently that I've been able to predict, not only based on astrology, but just like higher knowing of like
Yeah.
certain things.
Wow.
You were showing me you just got a
Mm.
tattoo recently.
I did. So it's
I
in the
think this is a
works.
good one.
It's not done. It is on my arm. So it is going to be one of my patron deities. It's Bastet. She's one of the Kemetic goddesses. So Bastet is the cat goddess. A lot of people are very familiar with her. She is the protectress of women, children, and the home. She's also the goddess of sensuality as well as intoxication. So she's definitely a lot more fun loving. She is, like I said, a protectress. She's really, really amazing, honestly. I'm very connected to her. She was one of the first goddesses I connected to. And yeah, I'm really stoked on the piece. My friend did it. Her name's Natasha. Her tag is Sacrifice of Skin.
And she's here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, she's here in downtown LA. And
Awesome.
she did an amazing job. I'm really excited for my next session to do some more shading and things like that. But yeah.
Should we ask tattoo questions or should we just move on to the...
Ooh,
don't
is
know.
there
What do you
anything
think?
wrong with getting astrological tattoos? I feel like is a really good one.
Yeah, or is there anything that you commonly see people get wrong? Well,
I
let's
literally
unpack both.
covered up my astrology tattoo.
Oh, you did?
I thought that, okay, if I'm not gonna regret anything, it's gonna be my zodiac sign. Like, I can't change that about myself. Like,
Yeah.
not only did the person do a really bad job, even though it was so simple, but I just feel like energetically, it can really increase that energy on certain points of the body.
Oh, wow.
Spiritual
Certain points.
tattooing is very real. So I feel like a lot of people don't consider that. And in astrology, there is medical astrology and like certain signs rule over certain parts of the body. So for example, Aries, we rule over the top of the head.
Okay.
So the jaw up. And then Sagittarius is going to be the thighs.
The thighs.
The thighs.
You do got some good
I
thighs.
got some thighs. I got thighs for days.
Yeah.
More than a bucket of chicken.
Yeah, so people don't consider that. You could just get the wrong tattoo in the wrong space and
Yeah.
it could just bring more chaos.
Where
than
was yours at?
balance. Mine was like more over here in like the
Okay.
bikini area. So, I mean, it's kind of relevant because of like the sacral solar energy, but
Yeah.
I didn't need more of that. Like, I didn't need
Got
more
it
of
covered.
that.
And do you
Like-
feel like just not a lot of thought went into when you were getting it? You were just
no
like,
thought went into it. I was a lot younger and
literally
yeah.
just a girl.
I was just a girl. I think I was like 17 or 18. It was so stupid.
So would that be something that people should take into consideration when getting
People
their
should
own?
take into consideration the location of the body, the intention of the body. I do know some friends that did a cute one that I liked is that they got each other's zodiac signs on their wrists, but on the wrists specifically. So your left wrist and like your left hand is where you bring in energy and your right is where you put it out. So since they're
Okay.
partners, they did it on their bringing in wrist.
And that's wrong or bad.
I like
Okay.
that because they do plan to stay together. You know what I mean? They've
So that
been
was-
together for a long time, so I don't predict them splitting up or anything like that. But I thought that was a good one.
That was
Um,
intentional? Like they
yeah,
had
they
that in mind?
intentionally did
Oh,
that.
that's- yeah.
Mhm.
They obviously know what they're doing. What do you think about people getting their partners or their kids' zodiac? Would you say same thing? It depends where you're putting it.
It really depends where you're putting it as well as the intention. I feel like intention is really important because, yeah, the zodiacs, they do have their own energy to them. It could just go a lot of different ways.
Do you think
I'll
it's
be
more
honest.
powerful, whether that's good or bad, powerful, than getting somebody's name? You're inviting in more,
Personally,
possibly?
yes.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, I mean, it's a magical symbol, so it just naturally has more power. I mean, names hold their own energy as well,
Sure.
and they could create more of a karmic attachment, but in terms of power, I would say the zodiac sign would probably have more power.
See, this is like it makes me feel validated about I hate to see a girl with their vato's name on their face.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, there's just something like ownership-ish that I don't like about it, you know? Like, you could literally get it anywhere else, but even when how girls are getting like their man's like face on their face, like there's just something of like, I feel like you're giving a piece of yourself up or something. Like, I just don't like it, but I can't.
That's
I don't
just
know if
love.
I would.
Yeah, but I can't like put it into words so maybe it's something like that. I just don't like the energy it's putting out.
Yeah, it definitely, tattoos carry energy. And I feel like people need to remember that because tattoos started as a spiritual thing. It was
Yeah.
part of shamanism
was
and
the
tribalism
intention.
and things
Mhm.
like that.
I was talking to a friend who's been getting into tattooing, and he has like complete sleeves, and he was kind of going through some, changes in life. We had to talk about it, and it was like kind of like anything can be spiritual. Like even the like certain phrases like you would get when you're younger, like 'cause
Only
it's
God
cool,
can judge me.
or bad luck,
Or all eyes on me.
13,
That's-
yeah, shit like that.
Yeah.
Like just
Uh-huh.
kind of like trouble loves me and stuff like that. It's like you're kind of
when they
putting
would get
that in
the
the
Mi
universe.
Vida Loca.
Well, yeah, that's just
Everyone
dope.
would get those.
That's true.
Yeah, and so
Shit, I'm trying
his,
to do a inventory right now.
what you
I'm
have,
like,
yeah,
what stupid
and-
shit do I have?
So his goal is to remove or cover anything that is kind of has any negative connotation.
I like
and that's
that.
just
Do you
generally
have anything
speaking.
like that?
I don't think so.
I'm just
What?
kidding.
The stare, she said,
No,
you sure?
I don't think so.
I'm so glad you touched on that because I wasn't, when I had written that question, I wasn't even thinking about it in those terms, but
Yeah.
I was
that's
like, that's a
genius.
really good one because, I mean, even Siren, who recommended me here, she does ritual tattoos.
Yes.
Because, it is a thing. It is very intentional. Like, it's a blood ritual, and people don't consider that. That's a blood ritual,
That's
like, with
true.
yourself, pretty
Eesh.
much.
You gonna quit tattooing now?
Oh, because I'm scared? No, but my mom might say I have to. No, but like now that also makes me think of like the first tattoo I got. I don't think I've told this story. We'll just get into it real quick. The first tattoo I ever got was by this guy who I didn't know, but was a Nazi to the point where this fool got arrested and unalived himself in jail because he had like this whole power compound somewhere out in the desert where they found like, I guess, just like tons and tons of ammunition.
Stockpile.
Yeah. And like they
wow.
were preparing for like a race war, like, and he like escaped to Uruguay and they extradited him back to the US. But yeah, so it was under this tattoo. And I wasn't stoked on the tattoo anyways. Like even it was my first tattoo. When I got it, I was too like, I wasn't confident enough in myself to be like, well, I actually wanted it like this. You know,
Yeah.
I kind of let myself get walked on. And so I ended up covering it. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did, which I already was glad I did as far as him just being a Nazi. But like now I'm like, if there's like spiritual ties, like
Yeah.
I'm glad that we were done with that.
And you think that's enough? Just covering it up?
What if you do
I
it
feel
with
like that would
intention?
depend. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel
didn't
like
do it with
definitely
that
do
much
the
intention, but-
intention or like
Maybe
mean,
it helps
now
because
you
I
give
drew
yourself-
my own design.
yeah, that helps because you're reclaiming your energy.
Can she set that intention post?
I would say yeah. Why
Yeah.
not?
I mean, he's just not,
Yeah.
he's not here. I am.
Exactly. Yeah, it worked.
Period.
Most of us now know from TikTok probably that you have 3 main signs. It's not just what we thought when we were kids reading Cosmo.
Yeah.
Like where the date that you are born is your sun sign, right? So like I was
Mhm.
born April 13th, so I'm an Aries.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a moon and a rising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You may have to dumb this down as
Yeah. So
as much
what
as
do
you can for me.
there's more than that, but what do
Mhm.
those 3 things signify?
So the sun is going to be like the illumination of the self, whereas I feel like the rising or the ascendant is going to be more the presentation of the self. And then the moon is going to be more the inner self and like what you show when you're in like your most closest circles, pretty
So
much.
you're more
Okay.
intimate
Yeah, and they also say that the moon sign is connected to the mother sometimes. So, for example, my mom is a Gemini and my moon sign is Gemini. So that can happen
interesting.
sometimes. And also they say that the moon sign is determined by your mother's like state when she was pregnant. So for for example, since I'm a Gemini moon, some would say my mom was a bit of a chismosa. She was a bit of a gossip goblin. She was yapping a lot while she was pregnant, probably. So yeah, they do say that. That's a couple of different factors.
Now that we are a little bit more well acquainted with the three major, what do you call them? Is it big three, main three?
The big three.
Big
I say
three.
big three, yeah.
Let's get into our birth charts so we
Yeah.
can.
Who do you want to start with, you or you?
I'm more of a grand finale type of person.
Okay, so you want to.
Oh my god!
Did you know I was going to say that? Because I'm a Sagittarius.
She
Okay.
had an idea, but she was hoping that you would be better than that.
Yeah.
So let's
Checks
see.
out.
So that it makes more sense when I'm talking, there is going to be the planets, there's the zodiac signs, and there's the houses. So each zodiac sign is going to have a house no matter what, regardless of where the planets are or not. And then just depending where your planets are, you may or may not have certain things. The houses are going to be more like
Yours are going to be more like projects.
where things are
Section.
impacted, I guess is what I would say. So I'll kind of break down everything so that it makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Is there anything specifically that you want to know about your chart so I could focus there?
What kind of questions can you even
Yeah.
ask in regards to chart?
For example?
Man, that's a big question.
Yeah.
You could ask how you communicate in relationships. You could
Okay,
see,
that's a good
like,
one.
how you should go about work. You could see like potentials in like your career and things like that.
Is there anything that we can ask in regards to like the podcast?
Let
Like,
me see. I mean,
why
you
don't we
do-
have sponsors?
You do have placements that like make you somebody who would do a podcast, and you do have placements that like put you in the public eye per se. So first of all, you have a Libra rising. So I also have a Libra rising. With the Libra
Look at us.
rising, I feel like it definitely creates more of a likable energy. Like people will naturally feel more attracted to you or prone to like you said, even though some people will be like, I can't stand her voice, they're still watching your podcast.
Period.
Like they're still watching your
Get on their
podcast.
ass.
You also have your Leo moon is in the 10th
Mhm.
house. So the 10th house has to do with your public image. It has to do with, in a sense, your career. It has to do with like your outwards energy. And it can also have to do with just in general, like your presence, if that makes sense, in the
Okay.
world. So with your moon sign being there, that means that your inner self is expressed in that area. And especially as a Leo, yeah, like you naturally can have more eyes on you. You naturally move in a way that like you can have more eyes on you. Like, you know how some people, they like crumble under that pressure?
Okay.
Like you naturally, because that's your moon sign, that's your inner world, you already move with that energy of like, I can be in the limelight and that's fine.
But
Because
as
it's Leo.
as a third party, do you see this about me?
I see that about you.
Thanks.
She's like, okay, period.
Tell me more,
Let's
tell me
see.
more.
And then, so Mercury is going to be the planet of, I say, communication as well as commerce. So business in general. You have your Mercury in the 7th house of relationships.
Mhm.
And it's in Taurus. So that means that you have a way of naturally communicating with other people. You can lay down good foundations and you make things also feel passive. So yeah, those are like good traits of a podcast.
Passive how?
Like passive of like,
Like tricking you into thinking you should be doing something.
no, like passive, like,
on to me.
like it's like easier for you to talk and like it's just easier to go in conversation because Taurus is ruled by Venus normally. So with that type of energy with a Mercury, you're naturally more laid back in conversation, which probably makes other people feel more comfortable.
Okay.
Specifically for the podcast,
Or even my tattoo career.
your
Either.
tattoo career, that's going to be
Or
8th house
success
energy.
as a general.
With tattooing, you do have 2 placements that I would say add to it. You have your Mars and your Jupiter both in Gemini, but it's specifically in the 8th house. It's the house of like death and rebirth. It's the house of transformation, but it also rules over like the occult and like things that are taboo. So tattoos are more taboo per se.
Okay.
So Mars is going to be the planet of like initiation, it's success, it's forward movement, it's energy. And then Jupiter is going to be expansion, it's like abundance, and it's also going to be your health. So with both of those types of planets there, that definitely indicates more of an energy of like I said, tattoos are taboo per se. And especially in a sign like Gemini, there's that exploration energy, which is like artist energy, in my opinion. So it does make sense that you do tattooing, honestly.
Okay.
And in terms of success, I mean, the Leo moon is a really good indicator. You just have to be a lot more like direct, if that makes sense. Like you want to make sure, like if you're overthinking something in your inner world and you're like, I feel like this might be important. Like, should I just say this? Should I say it? Should I say it? Those are probably the things that are going to create more
What?
success for you.
I didn't say anything.
Why-
I just thought of a joke I heard last week.
Those are things that'll potentially put you more in the spotlight, which could potentially bring more success.
Okay.
Just obviously, like, maybe not the intrusive thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, keep the intrusive thoughts to yourself. But if you have, like, a really good idea and you're holding it back just because you're not sure, you probably should vocalize your idea.
How am I doing in love, Doc?
In love,
Shoot it to me straight.
Yeah.
you have your Venus in Aries in the 7th house. So once again, the house of relationships. So with the Venus in Aries, you know what you want. Sometimes you'll chase if you really want it, but not all the time. And it also means like you prefer more intensity. Like if they're not automatically in love with you and like, holy shit, head over heels, then you probably lose interest really quickly.
Are you crying right now?
Um,
We're gonna need to take a break.
One thing I would say, because I do talk about aspects as well, aspects are going to be, it's called conjunctions, which is when planets are close together and they're working together. There's oppositions, which is when they're across from each other in a chart. So I kind of call it like they're staring each other down. Those are usually typically more negative. There's also squares, which are also typically negative. And then there is sextiles, which are kind of like
That sounds interesting.
mini conjunctions per se. And then there's also trines, which is when they're working together, and that's like the most abundant of the type of aspect you could have. And you do have a trine that I wanted to tell you about, and it's one of the stronger ones in your chart. So you have a trine on your Mercury, which, like I said, is like business and commerce.
I've been trying.
And then your retrograded Uranus. So Uranus, I call it like
Uranus?
Mine.
the advocate planet. So like, you know, that advocate friend who's like always voicing out for things, always creating change, like
That's me.
always making things happen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Uranus is going to be the planet of sudden change, which is why I like to call it the advocate planet.
I love a
then-
sudden change.
And then one of my mentors calls Uranus the higher octave of Mercury. And I
Higher
like
octave?
higher octave, yeah. I said octave. With those planets working together, there is a lot of change that could be created through your business relationships and through like jumps that you might take, but you have to make sure that you're taking the right types of jumps and the right types of risks. And
So
they
I
can
should
be-
maybe start a podcast with someone else.
I mean, I'm like, do I tell them yes? I'm scared.
Well, we said that this
That's
might
what
be the
she's been
last
trying
one.
to say because it literally says that.
I mean, you could
How do I
if
put
you
this?
wanted
Script
to.
podcast.
You could if you wanted to. I would say maybe. I do just say though, because you have a retrograded Uranus, that's why I say you have to think about the risks that you're taking and how they actually benefit you. Like you want to make sure you really weigh those pros and cons, because a retrograded planet is like, okay, people say it's like god awful and everything. And I'm like, okay, yes, but it's more so like, because the planet is per se moving backwards, it's almost
Or
like,
appears to be moving backwards.
yeah, it appears
right?
to be moving backwards. Yeah. So what I say, it's kind of like more of an introspection energy. It's more of like this is something that you must be aware of. You want to make sure that the sudden changes you want to make, especially because you have those Aries placements that tells you to like change and initiate. You want to be like, okay, wait, hold
I'm
on.
impulsive.
Does this
Pump the
actually
brakes.
need to be changed right now? Like,
So the jury is still out on whether this is the last Budcast or
Yeah,
not.
we'll see. We'll see what she says about me.
She pulls up yours. She's like, oh, yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah. It says here that this is the last episode.
Let's see.
Thanks for tuning into your last session. We'll see you never.
Yeah, your sun and your rising are opposing each other, but that's just because your sun is in Aries and your rising is in Libra.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to happen regardless, but I feel like that just kind of makes you switch between like, okay, I'm focused on myself right now. Oh my God, but I love everybody and I love all my friends. That can be a back and forth energy that potentially happens.
I feel like I do have a lot of back and forth internal conflict, especially in regards to like myself and others and how to mesh.
That's that 7th house energy for you for sure. So
when it comes to my business or work risks, as you were saying, really what it's telling me is that I need
you want to be like a Libra. And then when you take the action, you want to go back into Aries mode.
And
because
drive
you
it
still
home.
need that energy.
Okay.
So less impulsive?
Yeah,
sorry.
especially because your moon...
We might still have a podcast. We'll see.
Your moon is squaring your Mercury. So yeah, those overthinking, like, should I do this? Should I not? They clash with your actual, like, communication, if that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. The things that you're like, should I say this? Are probably the things you should say the most. And the things that you're like, maybe certain things should be held back.
She does that sound in that face all the time.
Really?
No, that's just how he hears me when he's blocking me out.
I'm screaming.
Okay. All right. Let's read this motherfucker.
Well,
Right.
okay, before that, I have a question.
Okay.
So as far as the birth chart and stuff,
Mhm.
what are the benefits of getting a birth chart reading?
I always say that tropical Western astrology is more of your like karmic blueprint here. What you're supposed to ascend above in the now. So I do think it is a bit damaging the way that astrology has been popularized because people are taught to deeply associate with each planet and each sign, which is a negative way of viewing astrology because these are things that can also create problems. So for example, like me and her, that we both have strong Aries energy. We could be like, oh, I'm an Aries. I'm supposed to always jump and initiate and do this and do that. But that could actually be damaging us because realistically, if you view it the way I do it, you'd have to be more in the Piscean energy to truly do what you need to do in this life and achieve your purpose.
So it's basically teaching you how to navigate these situations.
Yes, it teaches you how to navigate your actual life, the hand that you're dealt per se energetically, and like what you can do to accentuate your energy where it'll like work more, kind of like therapy. Like when you go to therapy and they're like, okay, well, if you know that triggers you, then try this.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, yeah, exactly.
It's insight.
It's insight, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
All
look
right.
at yours.
Here we go.
Oh.
Shoot it to me straight, Doc.
He's a terrible person.
I've been called a Sagittarius. Is that just because I'm bomb?
Never forget.
Some people
Am I bomb as fuck?
Never forget.
Some people
Okay,
hate
we have to cut that.
Sagittariuses. As an Aries, I don't know why. I personally love my fellow fire signs. But I know a lot of people that do not like Sagittariuses. I'm so
Hey.
sorry. I personally call them Swaggitarius.
Stop.
Say Swaggitarius.
What did you guys talk about before I went to the bathroom?
Wait a minute.
Or
Or
while I
I'll
was in the
say like
You were saying?
A lot of Sagittariuses, I know they love money or they like really chase the bag, so I call them Baggitarius.
When does that start? Because we
I
need a
don't.
fucking
I run from
sponsor.
the bag.
Bag of chips.
Okay, so good news. Your guys' energies would work really well together as a podcast.
Oh,
So
great.
This doesn't have to be the last podcast.
Oh,
Okay.
praise God.
So I'll start with saying why.
He's like, I'm
So-
just trying to get my money.
You
He's
do-
about the bag.
Imagine he's the...
Karma, no.
Jake just threw his candy everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was my
poured it all over himself. I was just going to say, imagine if he was the piece of the puzzle that was the
That
reason that this didn't
exploded.
work.
What was he trying to do? Because the
He did one
monitor's
of these.
blocking.
Oh,
When he was holding the
yes. So the reason why
Mental.
I would say that it works is because Aries is for you, it's going to be kind of split. It rules your 10th house and your 11th house.
Oh,
So 10th house, like I said, is your public image. It's your career. It's your outward energy and how
Got it.
people perceive you in like the public image and the public
Oh.
eye.
He really struggles with image in that, like, How would you say it? Like,
I don't know what you're trying to say.
like,
he's like, you're coming for me right now.
No, I'm really not trying to come for him. Because I think that he's great at it. Is hard on himself when he feels that, like, I'm trying to think of like how to word the friend group mixing.
The exact situation she's talking about is crowd mixing, and the reason why that it always made me feel weird is because I feel like I'm a different person in different groups, and I like it'll stress me out to have these friends hanging out with these friends because, you know.
So I was wondering,
I
if
guess that
that has
makes
something to do with the image. Because for me, I think like maybe that's just who you are, is you're somebody that can make everyone feel comfortable, and like that's actually a strength. Where to him, he kind of beats himself up. Like, am I being fake or am I being weird right now?
Yeah, you can kind of see that in the chart, actually. Because at first I was like, really? You're like that? Because there's a placement that goes completely against that. But then you have placements that reinforce that.
Okay.
So you might kind of feel like kind of pulled in between. That's probably why you're like, am I an asshole for not doing this? So I will start with where I had started already. So like I said, Aries is kind of split between your 10th and your 11th. So the 7th house, it's the house of relationships, and the 11th is the house of groups. What's different about them is I feel like the 7th house, the way I explain it is that it's more of like your inner circle, whereas the 11th house is your outer circle.
Okay.
And in your 11th house, you do have your Jupiter in Aries. So Jupiter, again, is going to be expansion, it's health, and it's like abundant energy. So that's where I was like, really? You don't like mixing your groups? And then I looked again, and in your 7th house, it's ruled by Capricorn, and you have your Neptune there. Neptune is going to be the planet of dreams, the planet of illusions, and it has somewhat to do with creativity as well. You're more prone to want to like keep certain things private, or that's going to be what creates like what you said, like you feel like you have different personalities.
Yeah.
Capricorn is very like grounded. So yeah, it's in a sense like you have all these moving energies, but you'll like ground into your different personalities.
And Neptune was my favorite planet as a kid. I don't know if you know this about me. I did a report about it too.
I do know that about you.
Yeah, it was.
Everyone knows that about him.
It had my favorite colors.
Yeah, my cat's name is Neptune.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a little tabby cat. Yeah, he's my... I know I shouldn't pick favorites, but out of my pets, he's my
I know
favorite.
moms aren't supposed to have favorites, but I have one
I'm not
too.
supposed to have favorites, but he's definitely my favorite. But yeah, the Jupiter that I just talked about is the biggest reason why I'm like, oh, no, you guys definitely could be doing the podcast together. You also had a good Jupiter placement.
I don't know if you know this, but when I used to play Sailor Moon, I was Sailor Jupiter. So
whoa.
Okay.
How did I know this about you?
So they're not exactly in a strong conjunction, but they're all still close to each other and working together, I would say. Definitely, yeah.
sounds
With
like
the
our
Sun,
relationship.
Venus, and Jupiter. I mean, Venus is going to be not only the planet of love, but it's a planet of attraction, which is also good for business. Jupiter being expansion is also good for business.
But I'm like, but what if we don't feel like doing business?
It's your 6th house of like work and routine. It's a positive energy. There's a lot of potential for growth. Right now, you guys are probably in like a super growth period too. If you keep working towards the growth and like rolling with the punches,
Yeah.
likely since that just happened, probably next year, you guys could have more potential for like Saturn's reward. So Saturn, yes, he puts you under a lot of pressure. He's the planet of boundaries and restrictions, but he's also the planet of karma. So that can be good karma as well. So people
That
always
was
Well, that's a
what I
little
did.
scary.
That's what. Oh God.
Because all
Do
we
I
do is
get
talk
his
shit.
karma? Oh yeah, my own karma. That was what I did my report on that year.
Really?
Saturn.
Saturn. Oh, that's funny. You guys remember I said that there's trines in astrology?
Yeah.
So with trines, they can only happen when there's signs in the same element. So, or usually that's how it happens.
It's
But with
okay.
the
We don't know none
trine,
of this stuff.
Yeah.
with the trine, because you guys have all those placements in Aries together, it's trining your whole Sagittarius stellium. So since I call you a Sagittarius, this might be why. So you have your Sun, Mercury, Saturn, Moon, and Uranus all in Sagittarius. So stelliums is when you have 3 or more planets. You have 5. And all of your placements are going to be, all your Sagittarius placements are in the 6th house. The 6th house is work, it's routine, it's your day-to-day life. If you have pets, it's also your pets. definitely more having to do with your structure. So the sign that rules over that house is going to be Virgo, if that helps you kind of see it as well. You know, Virgo, they're very structured, they're very organized. Some people
Who
say
is
they're
this that you're
like,
talking about?
I know. I was just gonna say because I feel like I am the most disorganized.
I was going to
and,
say
like,
that's the house,
like-
the 6th house. That's the ruler of it. So since you have Sagittarius energy
They must have
there,
foreclosed on
that's
that
what I was
house.
going to
Yeah.
say.
This
Since it's
motherfucker.
Sagittarius, it's kind of the opposite of the Virgo energy. So especially being a traveler sign, you cannot have the same routine. You need to have things that are always changing. It'll probably kill you to do like a 9 to 5. I cannot imagine if you did a 9 to 5, how
Yeah.
angry and like insufferable you could have been.
Yeah.
You
No,
need
he is insufferable, but
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't
That
have
is
the
what
same
makes
routine.
me feel alive.
Yeah, you need to, even if it's not traveling, like literal traveling, it's also learning. So yeah, you need to always be seeing something different, doing something different. Everything has to be always changing for you.
why does he also
Mhm.
feel so exhausted by that? Yeah, but then he's also
Depleted.
like, yeah, oh, I just have so much
It's
going
in the
on
chart.
right now.
And I also can't say no.
Oh.
So I agree to every engagement that I'm asked about, and I'm just like,
The Sun and Mercury want to go, 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 go. And then also Uranus is like, oh no. Just kidding. We had this plan. No. Now this plan. And then Saturn's like, yo, what the fuck? We need structure. So it's likely your Saturn that's creating more of the energy depletion.
fuck you, Saturn.
Don't tell him that.
No, I'm just kidding, dude. Dude, we're just, it's a comedy podcast. I didn't mean it. I drive a Saturn.
Oh, they always say that Saturn is Satan.
Oh, my word.
They say Saturn is Satan. That's why I made the joke. I was like, don't say that to him.
It's like when you're little and you like do this.
Well, in Greek mythology, Saturn is Kronos, and Kronos eats all his kids.
I know some bitches
The
that eat
spiritual
all kinds of
comedy
kids.
coming out of me. My bad. You want to make sure that you're balancing that energy. That's probably.
But how?
Yeah.
Let's get to let's get to these questions just so it stays interesting for the audience.
Yeah.
We're all just making this about us now.
I know.
Okay.
I might have wrote in some questions.
Okay, so everyone that's the same sign, do they really act the same? How much is actually written in the stars? So I think this ties into what you were saying about that people are using it to explain why they're a certain way, right?
Mhm.
Instead of using it to...
Yes.
And I feel like using it as like kind of like a scapegoat, right?
Yeah,
Like, this
and
is my
that's-
excuse.
No, we're not supposed to be associating that deeply, but people being in the same signs. I feel like I see underlying themes, but it's not necessarily like the same personality entirely. For example, in all Aries women, I see that we all do something that's like an initiative. Like most Aries women have some sort of like hustle that they're doing. Like they have something that they're initiating, something that they are creating. Another one that would be a good one. I feel like a lot of the Geminis I know, they be fucking smart. Like they be like kind of freakishly smart. Like if they're not book smart, like they're hella street smart. I feel like, let me think of another really good example. I feel like every Pisces I know does some type of art.
There's common characteristics, but it's not necessarily your entire personality.
Yes. The easiest way to explain it is like every sign rules over a house. And like that's usually where you see those themes. So like Aries is in the house of the self. So we do things for ourselves a lot and we create things for ourselves. And then like Libra, which is the opposite, that's the house of relationships. So that's why you see Libra being a lot more of like, wait, is everybody happy with this? Like, oh my God, wait, do you feel included? Like that's why
That's
you
insane.
have. Mhm. So
She even turned into Melissa,
Yeah.
one of our girlfriend's. Well, his girlfriend's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The most thoughtful.
those are the themes that I would say. It's more connected to the house ruler than the actual like, oh, y'all have to be the same. Y'all are the same sign. Like
Yeah.
it's more so the actual themes for sure.
And we also now know me personally, it's like there's a lot more to it, like location
Mhm.
and time.
Yep, there's a lot to it, honestly. Like even if, let's say for example, like you find out by the next time I'm here that you were 30 minutes off on your like birth time, it could completely change your chart. Depending on the moon, depending on what time it is, it could completely shift everything.
Interesting.
Mostly based on the rising sign as like as the biggest one.
Okay.
Because the
Got it.
rising sign is the one that changes the quickest, and it's also the one that sets the tone for all of the houses. As far as your personality, what I like to tell people is like when I give birth chart readings, I'm like, okay, we're going to tell you what's the negatives and how to pimp it. Even if you have really harsh placements, even if there's certain things that you're like, damn, what am I supposed to do with that? I always find a way, like you asked, like, what do you mean when you look at a certain planet? I always find like what I call a loophole planet, and I find a way to really get through that energy. So yes, certain things are written. Yes, there's certain energies you're going to have to deal with karmically, but that's why we have astrology, so that you know how to go about it. In terms of actual predictive astrology, I mean, as much as I want to say things can definitely be avoided, there are certain things that cannot be avoided. Like, I mean, even everything happening in the world right now is written in the stars, quite literally. Like, if anyone knew what was going to be happening the last 6 months, it was the astrologers.
So this is your fault. No, I'm just kidding.
You didn't tell us?
Something I've heard online that I was wondering if it's actually true. When you're younger, you're more like your sun sign, which for me would be an Aries. And the older you get, you become more like your ascending, or you should be becoming more like your ascending, which for me would be Libra.
I just realized we're the same sun and rising.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
So that's like, I feel like they're so opposite, but I could see in what my signs are why that should happen. Like, I should stop being so hot-headed or,
For the self.
impulsive. Yeah, like
Controlling.
Oh my God. He came for you.
He always does. We missed that part of the chart where he's a bad person.
I feel like that's fire sign to fire sign, but also Sagittarius is one of the goofier signs. So he's more prone to making jokes and like turning things
And
into
being
a
an
hee
idiot. I'm just kidding.
turning things into a hee hee moment. Yeah.
So, is that true that you do become more like, or you should, or?
Yes and no, because I feel like you're supposed to embody both to an extent, and depending on which sign is which and how your karma is and what the chart is and everything, it could be more beneficial to lean into another, while it could be more beneficial to lean into the other. For a sign like Aries specifically, I would say, especially if you have your sister sign as your rising, so which is Aries and Libra, their sister signs, definitely find that perfect middle ground, hit that sweet point, because that means that one of your reasons of being here is to find that sweet point and that balance between the self and other people.
Do birth charts apply to pets? And if so, because, the cats that I have, they're brothers.
Yeah.
One of them is kind of a dick, and the other one is my favorite. Like,
so birth charts do apply to pets. I have a friend who got her pets from like someone who had the litter, and they knew the dates, times and everything. And I looked at her pet's charts, and it's actually crazy how valid it is. But just like anything, every energy is going to be expressed in its own way. So although they were brothers and they were born a couple of minutes apart, yes, they have a lot of the same similar placements, but they express it a little bit differently.
Why is it so cute?
I know.
Does astrological incompatibility mean that a relationship won't work? Or does it just mean that you should navigate obstacles with caution?
Asking for a friend.
I feel
No,
like
that was written in.
Astrology is very karmic, especially when you're looking at Western. So if you're incompatible in your like Western astrology, that means that if you're still in love and things are still working, that means that you just have a lot of things that y'all decided that you needed to work through in this life. Like, for example, me and my boyfriend, we have like a split chart. Like half of our chart literally says emotional suffering, while the other side of it is like perfect compatibility, like love and amazingness. And it is true. We do have a few big obstacles that we work through together and everything. But overall, yeah, it's a really great relationship. So you definitely would want to get a reading if you're unsure and you're trying to navigate that. It can give you the tiny key to figuring out all of the problems pretty much.
Date night with Reyna.
I feel like it could definitely
That's
like
a good date night.
help. There's a lot of things that factor into it, because some people could fall more into their like underdeveloped side of their chart, while other people have really worked through their like traumas and things.
I would
like
imagine
already.
that like when you're feeling under attack or like overwhelmed, that you could probably have the tendency to go into your like underdeveloped or like your negative like
and that's what I
attributes,
say.
right?
Like I don't necessarily hate any specific sign. But I will definitely say, for example, like I do not mess with underdeveloped Virgos. If you are
Okay.
going to be a Virgo, you better come to me with prime Virgo energy. You can really ascend above your chart without even knowing it. Like there's people who I have read where I've been like, I feel like you've already worked through this personally, but I'm still going to tell you this challenge in your chart. So it really depends on the person, who they're dating, because it could say a bunch of emotional suffering, but who knows what that person has been through in their life to
And
actually
what they've worked out.
actually worked out and gotten through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are cusp signs real?
What does cusp sign mean?
Cusp is going to be like when, like, for example, somebody could be like, oh, I'm on the cusp of Leo and Cancer, but I'm a Leo. It means that they're born on like the last day that sometimes between each year flip-flops between signs. With the cusp, I mean, the sun shifts every single year. So, for example, somebody who's born this year on April 19th is an Aries, but next year they could be a Taurus. And that's just because of how long the sun is in each sign. So what it is that there's things called decans in astrology. So Aries has 3 decans, every single sign has 3 decans, and that's going to be their like the planets that they're associated with. So you can be a Sun decan Aries, or you could be a Jupiter decan Aries, or you could be a Mars decan Aries. So I believe that
How do you memorize all this stuff?
I know.
I think that you're a Jupiter decan, whereas me, I'm a Sun decan, which is going to be where you see the differences in like, oh, March Aries versus April Aries. Yes, they have kind of different energies because there's that sub energy of the planetary rulership.
Okay.
I have like a million more questions.
I know. Serious.
We could definitely do a part 2. We could for
Yeah.
sure do a part 2,
Definitely.
especially if your guys' viewers
And
love it.
now that we know more, like it
Yeah.
unlocks more
A whole
questions.
new list of
so-
questions.
Yeah. And excuse me for these pillows. My neck was hurting. from my big
Girl,
ol'
that's
head.
an Aries thing. Remember the head. We rule over the head. I literally get migraines like every other fucking day of my life.
McDonald's French fries.
Have you seen that? Have you seen
I
that?
have not.
It's
That's
like a
like-
viral thing right now.
This is funny because this is it's in my astrology. I'm an Aquarius Venus, like I said, right? So I tend to lean away from anything that's trending or like viral.
You're
I'll be
punk
like,
rock?
nah,
No, you're
fuck
just
this.
punk rock.
Yeah, you're just
I'll be
punk
like,
as
nah, fuck
fuck.
that. Like, I remember. Do you guys remember? Like, you remember when that song "Latch" by Disclosure went like viral?
Jake knows it.
So when it
Jake, no.
went crazy viral, I stopped listening to them for fucking years
Because
that
it went
song
viral?
went viral. Yes,
That's
like
kind
I was
of
like,
the way I am.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like,
a
how?
little bit.
No, everyone knows it now. No, I must
The-
abandon it.
the
I
one way-
waited like 8 years to watch Breaking Bad because.
Oh my God,
Yes.
dude.
I was literally gonna say the one way to make sure I don't watch a show is multiple people tell me to watch that show.
Yeah.
I'll
and
be
I'll
like,
never
nah,
get
fuck
to-
that. I don't
Fuck that,
care.
dude. You just told me what to do when I am not gonna.
Now
do
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is though about
I feel
it.
like that's also fire sign
Fire.
energy too. That's like fire
Maybe.
sign energy and Aquarius energy. I feel like.
Okay. So we hate to wrap it up because we
I
have
know.
a million bajillion more questions.
It's so
Jake, do you have
exciting.
any quick questions
No, not
for
really.
your life? All right, whatever.
Okay.
I guess he's got everything figured out then.
Yeah. We
So-
knew you were gonna say that.
So tell all of our beautiful listeners where they can find you.
So I have 2 places you can find me. So like I said, I am a spiritual business owner. So you can find me on primarily Instagram. I do my best to update my website, but I am a small business owner, so it's tough
Mhm.
sometimes. But on Instagram, you can find me at Unity Sanctum. So this is my little logo. You can see the scales. So that's where you can find me in terms of like ritual body items, spell candles, classes, pop-ups, things like that. Like if you wanted preferably in-person readings. I also do over-the-phone readings. So if any of you guys aren't in California, you could also find me at it's Budcast. It's BUDDAH and then CAT. But that's where I primarily I do like astrology. I do readings on there. And then it still obviously ties into my spiritual business. But yeah, we do a lot of different things. So there's like activated like spiritual artwork. Like this is the drawing I
Cool.
did for Bastet. This is also my cat who's named after Bastet. And then this one's my partner's piece. So I do run my business with my partner. So this one is going to be the architect. It's based on
Wow.
Hermes and the caduceus. So it's like the blueprint of the self and everything. So and
Wow.
then we also make like ritual oils and things like this. Like this is my personal favorite of all the blends that I make. I use it every single day. This is Aset's veil. So Aset is her Kemetic name. Her more well-known Greek name is Isis. So she's the Kemetic goddess of magic. So with her veil, it's pretty much going to be for protection, but it's specifically built for the mind. So it'll keep anybody from like manipulating or like infiltrating or like trying to insert their. The way you guys looked at each other, I'm dead. It can keep you from being like wooed by people pretty much.
Besides just the birth chart readings, you
Mhm.
also do tarot.
So I do readings, but I prefer to use oracle cards specifically just because I'm more free channeling.
And
That was
those-
actually going to be one of my questions is what is the difference between tarot and oracle?
Tarot is going to have a specific system. There's always the major arcana and the minor arcana, the suit of wands,
Oh.
the suit of cups, the suit of pentacles, all of that. Whereas oracle can be literally anything. Like I, for example, have a Kemetic deck. It has all of the different Egyptian gods in it. It has different like temples and themes and things like that. And then I also have, it's like a dark fairy deck. So it has like fae and it has like unicorns. Some of them have like affirmations sometimes. Like
Okay,
it-
yeah.
One of them is more of just like a purely channeled energy, whereas tarot is very specifically systematic.
And that can also be done virtually.
Virtually as well as in person. Yeah.
And what about your limpiezas? Those have
My
Yeah, the healing.
limpias, I'm working on figuring out a way that I want to do it online. So at this current moment, my healings are going to be mostly just in person. But
and are
I
those
do
offered at your pop-ups or?
Yes, primarily at my pop-ups, or I have an in-house residency at Frey's Hermetic Supplies.
And where's that?
It's in Huntington Beach at the Old World
Okay, there you
Village.
go.
So the Old World Village is super cute. It like has like a beer garden and everything.
Oh, cool.
But they have
I've never
a
heard of
really
it.
amazing occult shop in there. Once again, it's called Frey's Hermetics. I'm there pretty much every Friday. If you wanted like a cleansing or a limpia and you couldn't come in person, I do offer like spell work specifically. So it wouldn't be like a traditional like limpia with
Mhm.
smoke, feather, things like that. But I would still do it through the candle work and
So you'll like walk them through it.
Well, I would do the actual spell, and what I do is I send people candle reports. I would get like their name, I'd get their birthday, and then I like do a whole spell. I do a whole candle, and like I'll like pay attention to the flame. I'll read the wax and everything, and then I usually send like voice memos.
Is that like
Mhm.
a similar thing to like the ladies that do the tea leaves and stuff?
Similar
Like
with the
that you're-
candle
so you're
wax
reading
because
that
you're reading
through
it
that.
actively and seeing how the energy
Whoa.
moves.
And where can they find where your next pop-up is? Did you post that always on your...
I post that more
page?
on my business page, so
Okay.
that you can find more on Unity Sanctum. I do, like I said, primarily just reading and like reading services bookings on Budcast.
All right, is there anything else you can think that you want to plug?
I think that's it.
And shout out to Siren for linking us.
Yeah, shout out
Yeah.
to Siren. Gotta love Siren.
All right, guys. Well, you already know where to find me and James. I'm at Sinai_Kawaii on Instagram.
And I am Jimmy Jam on Instagram.
Through there, through both of our bios, you can find our shop page. We're at the Tattoo Budcast for the podcast. And then you can also find our booking and merch all linked in our bios. I think that pretty much does it for Astrobuds.
That was good. That was. We
Amazing.
can't wait to have you back on.
Now, Reyna, we need
Yes.
you to do us one last favor and sign off. So you're going to look dead into that camera
Okay.
and you're going to say, thank you for watching the Tattoo Budcast. We'll see you at your next session.
Thank you for watching the Tattoo Budcast. We'll see you at your next session.
Thanks. Yay.
Natural.
And that's a wrap. Yeah,
A
usually
supernatural.
supernatural. Usually people get all like, ugh, once we tell them to do that. That's awesome.
I guess that's the vending and the making content and me.
There it is.
Yeah. Dance, monkey, dance.